Why don't you guys talk a little? Well, let's see. Still waiting.
See?
Man. No, I can't see anything. I don't know if there may be people watching. I don't know.
Check her router.
Nothing.
I'm trying. I can't get it. I don't even have it queued up.
You got nothing. Hold on. Video will play after ad.
All right. We don't need the commercial play-by-play, but that's a good sign.
Okay. How about it?
All right, good.
How about it? We're good.
Fruit cup's on, guys.
Fruit Cup is here. What's up, Cup?
All right, I'm out tonight. I can't get it.
You've been dropped from my
You out?
Oh wait.
service. Oh,
Oh no.
By the way, we all play all the commercials. We're making ourselves millions of pennies.
AGH in the house.
Always listen to the whole commercial.
Nice.
That's right.
All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. This is the WCAC Spectacular. He is Kevin Ricca.
It's awesome to be here. What an exciting weekend. I'm still a little tired from the pre- and post-game scenario here at First Amendment.
Yeah.
But, T's just trying to make sure I'm staying in shape and staying young as a young 44-year-old man. I don't know if you witnessed it, but there's a couple of people out there we'd like to thank.
Oh, yes.
Please come up and thank us in the next 2 weeks because my mind went blank. I forgot who you were. But Terry from Gonzaga,
Terry
you are a
from
good man.
Gonzaga.
Terry, you are.
Jumped
man.
right in
Thank
and
you.
helped out. He's Tim Strachan.
Yeah, man, it was an awesome weekend, but it's only going to get even better for the next 2 weeks, man. This is what we've all been waiting for and talking about and looking forward to. And it's on us, man. It's upon us.
He's Matt Seal, the real deal.
If you thought it was fun getting to this point, just wait. See
Yeah.
what we have coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be great in both divisions.
Yep.
Let's see here. I'm doing a little sound checking and sound producing. The
And
WCAC
check those notes, baby.
had a awesome
them
week,
knobs.
regular season finale. Let's start in the Metro Division. Maddie, how we look?
Well, we had a very highly anticipated 1-2 matchup. St. Mary's Reichel traveled up to Carroll, and it was close for a little bit. However, St. Mary's Reichel did pull away. I think the final score was 35-12.
By the way, Kevin and I on our way to
I
the
was gonna
championship
say,
game,
yeah,
we were driving. We took a route right past Carroll. We were making the left there on Taylor, I think it was.
Harewood Road, my
Yeah,
friend.
Harewood. And it was 14-6, under a minute. Riken was driving. They were clearly in the red zone, and there was definitely some time left in the first half, and the clock was stopped. So we didn't see what happened. Don't ruin it for us. We're gonna obviously got a DVR'd. But it was just awesome to see football in that field.
It was so cool. It took me back to the beginning,
Ross Collins
beginning
Field,
of
that's
time
right.
in my world in the
Yes,
WCAC.
that's right.
Place looks great. Looking out there and seeing the same people parked, looking through the fence, standing up in the stands, and driving down there. Man, a little lump in my throat, man.
That's right. It was a great day. So who? Let's talk about some playoff matchups. I mean, we can cover the other score, obviously.
Well, O'Connell, Paul VI faced off. Big rivalry over there in
It
Northern
is a big
Virginia.
rivalry.
O'Connell was up 20-0, and Paul VI battled back to win 21-20. So that's a tough loss for the Knights. However, they're still going to get in the fourth seed in the playoffs.
Yep.
Heck
So
of a
their win
comeback,
over
man.
Ireton. So that
They
so
beat
that-
Ireton. Ireton is gonna miss out in the Metro, just like McNamara is going to miss
Yep.
out in the Capital.
So that puts O'Connell against Riken.
The number one
St.
seed,
Mary's Riken.
St. Mary's Riken, down there. That'll be a 3:00 kickoff on Saturday. So they've got
Down
lights
in
down
Hawaii?
there, so they'll start midday down there in Hawaii.
I think families should take this opportunity to take a little vacation. Down to
road
Southern
trip.
Maryland.
Here you
Absolutely.
go.
like a
Stay
bowl,
for a couple
like
days.
a like a bowl game for the
Absolutely,
program.
of
Yeah.
course, like a bowl game. Get yourself a hotel for a
Make
couple
the most of
days.
it.
Oh,
See
there's-
the shore.
At least
There's
tonight.
fun places around there too.
There's 2 bars from what I
Oh,
understand.
there-
that's
That
what
showed
I meant
2
by
weeks
fun
ago.
places.
There might be a packaged goods store somewhere in there as well.
On
Not
the
sure
way.
for sure,
That's right.
but good luck to those guys. Carroll draws the
Paul VI
upstart.
rematch.
Yeah,
2-3 matchup
Their
at
victory
Carroll.
lap.
I think that's a 1:00 kickoff on Saturday as well
and that's taking place.
at Carroll.
Yeah, down on Airwood. I want to say
Harewood.
Taylor so bad, but it's Harewood. I got you,
Don't just go with Harewood.
just go with
trust
Harewood,
it.
and you'll be right.
Just trust it, man.
All right, so we'll be at Catholic for the first half of a championship Sunday in 2 weeks to showcase the 2 winners of those games.
I believe that game is at 1:00. Don't trust me because I'm not to be trusted in these matters.
We'll get confirmation.
But we'll get confirmation for you. My understanding is the games are at 1-6, but that could have been a dream. I'm not certain. But you know, you heard it here first.
You heard it
I
here
am right.
first. And we,
If I'm right, I'm really right.
depending on certain matchups, which will remain unnamed, we have some pretty awesome guests possibly
That's a
lined
fact.
up. So we're eager to find out how it's going to shake out because we feel like we can put together a pretty good show one way or another involving the teams that are involved in the Metro. So hats off to those guys. Good luck in the playoffs for those guys. I'm going to mention a couple other championships while we're at it. St. John's girls.
The DCSA soccer tournament was
Yep.
held over this past weekend. The finals down at Catholic University. St. John's defeated Sidwell Friends in the girls' championship. I think it went to 7 rounds of penalty kicks.
Shootout.
Went through double overtime, tied up,
It's gut check.
battled back and forth throughout the contest. St. John's pulled away.
Well, good for them. Shout out to Miss Morin and Miss Hinton over there on the
That's
St.
right.
John's side.
They had a heck of a celebration
Yeah.
up there after the game.
And guys we covered, who took down the WCAC.
The Gonzaga Eagles did the double this year. I think they started their season 5-5 Gonzaga and ran off something like
Yeah.
a 14-1 streak to end it.
Whoa.
So they won the WCAC. They also won the DCSA 3-0 over Sidwell Friends as well.
I listen, Ryan Ely, the kid from Gonzaga. You guys, I know you're not huge soccer guys, but when you just watch a kid who's just like kind of next level athleticism.
Yeah.
They're calling him the greatest athlete to ever come through Gonzaga on the soccer field, which is compliment enough. But he runs like a deer. And he initiates contact, and he gets and he's extremely skilled. It's fun to watch. It's incredible that he just like we talk about in football, when you watch a kid who's doing things that's just stand out on the field, he's definitely doing that for Gonzaga. So hats off to him.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
to
and we
the
got a
Eagles.
league full of kids like that
Yep,
on a
we
yearly
sure do.
basis, and they deserve their proper shout out here in the
Yep.
basement.
All right, well I'll tell you what, we also had quite an eventful weekend. The 98th running of the Bulls.
It wasn't
Eagles, and
always
Cadets.
just on the field, too. It was-
No. Oh yeah. No, it was. It was like a feat of I don't know. Lots of feats were attempted that day. I'd say we were successful in some, and we called it a tie in the others.
There was no failure anywhere.
No. But
No, that was not an option.
failure was not an option.
If you must know, it was the carrying me up the bleachers.
The carrying of the ball.
Carrying of the bowl up to the press box
Yes.
because it was so cold. We wanted to be inside, and they wanted to make sure I was inside.
Yes. It ended
I
up
do
not being that
thank
cold. but-
Kevin Ricka, Joe Murphy, Terry from Gonzaga, Ken, Frank, my cousin, Frank
Yeah,
Fisher.
Frank,
Yeah,
of
hey,
course.
your
Took a
friend
lot-
makes me
took a lot of
strong.
people-
It's not the first time
Took
I've
a lot
heard
of
that.
people to get this guy up the steps. I'll tell you what.
Man,
Appreciate it, though.
the last time I saw stars at a high school football game, Phil Savoy hit me on
I was
Harewood
worried-
Road.
I was worried about you and Joe
But,
big time.
yeah, well, we were good. We figured out how to deal with our injuries post game, and
Yeah,
everything
I'm
worked
a little
out well.
sore myself.
Yeah, I
must
thought
say.
you might be.
It was you were definitely involved. I mean, it was
a group effort.
I mean,
Sadly to say.
it was this WCAC moment for the ages, I think, and it was a perfect setting. So, 98th time, these guys played. I mean, everyone knows about St. John's Gonzaga, in the region. I think that's cool, and the teams coming in. I don't know, different rankings had them at 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever. It's the first and second best teams in the city. We know that to be true, and that's the way it went down.
Yeah, that was the case last week. It started off, it looked like there was one team ready to play, and another team was still on the bus. I mean, Gonzaga's offensive line coming off the bye week just came out of the gates in dominant form. I mean,
They really did.
Justice Johnson coming out there in the all-white uniforms. I mean, he did not look petite. And they were moving bodies. St. John's guys were not getting off blocks. And Malcolm Terry was ripping off chunks of yardage. I mean, 20 here, 20 there, 10 for a touchdown.
It seemed like they were averaging 8+ yards a carry, for a while there.
No matter who St. John's has played this whole entire season, I haven't seen a first drive like that coming out of the gates. And you go like, hold on a second. Is this going to be a 35-0 blowout? I mean, it had that feeling. Gonzaga came so ready to play. St. John's, it took him a second to warm up. It was a little cold out there. But
They gave you Aaron Turner for that first drive. Then they give you Joe Hammond for a drive, and
Malcolm Turner went
Turner,
nuts.
Terry,
Turner was getting the
sorry,
ball.
yep.
Turner,
and,
Terry, they all stepped it up. We said somebody's got to step it up.
Yep.
In fact, many guys for Gonzaga stepped it up behind that
Nate
line.
Kariski.
Behind they did come out the gates great.
I mean, I've never seen anyone as good at this level. Maybe one other guy we'll get to later, but Caleb and that receiving core and that offensive line giving him protection with the back shoulder fade. It's bizarre how good they are at it at this young age. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you don't see that. That is such a
But
highly
you know what that
executed
is,
play.
and you know this. That's Caleb going out there in the off season during the summer, doing rep after rep after rep. Leaders do that. They get the guys together. They work on it. They create that rapport. And now this is where it pays off, where the games mean it most.
Yep.
And we definitely saw a display of that in the beginning of the game. But it quickly became even shortly after that. This was, again, a big-time heavyweight fight. And, I mean, it seemed like hits were a little bit harder. It seemed like guys had a little bit more giddy up in their step. Certainly, I thought on the Gonzaga side, I was really impressed with the athletes and some of the things they were doing, the way they were running the ball. And just how they were finishing forward. But then here came St. John's hitting right back and tied it up. And that was where I think we all looked at each other and said, here we go again.
Well,
yeah, every time we show up, something happens. And this game itself, 98 years of this, name it. It's happened.
Right.
I mean, come on. What we saw last year already. But I think what kind of caught our attention, all of us right there and early in that second quarter, Gonzaga was driving down for their second touchdown, was, you look out there and you see number one playing defense. And Rakim Jarrett had 5 tackles in the first half. I think he had 4 in a row at one point. And him and Joe Hammond met at about 12 yards, 2 full heads of speed. And, man, it was vicious. And you're saying, this guy hasn't played defense since the 8th grade. In a time of need, St. John's had 3
he had some
defensive backs out.
because I see him.
He hasn't been a regular defense.
No, but he likes
He's
to
maybe played 5 plays all year.
Yeah, only in spots.
You could
Yeah,
see when
no
he got the
five plays
ball
his whole
a lot of
career.
times this year.
First start.
He was looking to make some contact.
He is a freight train. He was
letting off some steam.
He's one of the best high school football players I've ever seen.
Yep.
He's great. And DeMarco Helms is a great reference, for him.
Yeah.
The guy who plays at the high level, no matter which position you put him at. 2 things for me. The fact that there were no turnovers in this game is crazy. You're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids playing at that high of a level. No turnovers. And I guess, if you thought Caleb Williams was deadly from 50 yards out, he's really deadly from 8 inches out, which he was a lot.
That's true.
You put that offensive line inside the 2 or 3 yard line. I mean, it's a touchdown.
We could all score
great.
behind those guys.
That play is unstoppable from 1 yard out. But the one guy that we haven't discussed yet, and he's kind of been just scooting by here these last couple of weeks, the silent assassin, Sol J. Maeva.
Yeah.
When it started to get a little hairy out there, Sol J was the guy that they relied on to make plays. And, man, does he have an incredible stiff arm, one of the best stiff arms I've seen at the high school level out of a quarterback. And he uses it while he kind of gallops away. And he uses, that force and inertia to push him back 5 yards to give him a break from the other guys chasing him to find a spot to either make a throw or throw it away. And he did it countless times. And there was one time on a 3rd down, I think he made a play to DJ Lincoln's, where he ran around the whole field, came back this way, and threw it. And we were talking about it. His hips and shoulders had to be completely turned with his feet facing the wrong way. And he just put it directly on the numbers for a 14-yard first down on 3rd and 12. It was ridiculous.
So
The thing about I was going to say about Sol J, when talking about the sneaky assassin, a sneaky stat for him, something that really helps him. He's got big hands.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch the way he was able to do that, and it's a flick. I mean, there's a lot of hand strength. There's a lot. I mean, some guys can't do that no matter what, whether they have big hands or not. But he has big hands, and he makes it work for him.
And here's one of the things that makes St. John so dangerous is because of that. Normally, in a normal situation, most high school quarterbacks, when plays break down, it's not good. Usually the result is not always very good. There's going to be a play here or there. This is where Sol J actually can change a game. He can be an X factor in the game. When plays start to break down, he gets outside that pocket, and he's got the athleticism to pick it up himself, either with his legs or he keeps his head downfield, he keeps plays extended, and he finds guys who are incredible athletes down the field in space, and that's where they have their huge plays. And that keeps them in the games when they're down 2 scores. They're never really out of it, even in those situations, because of that kind of ability from Sol J to help orchestrate those types of plays.
It was that and absolutely their explosiveness, and that came to light. All of a sudden, it's a 2-touchdown game, 14-0. You bring in Jamar Curtis. and you run a little playoff tackle, and you watch number 5 go 63 yards. And you know what? At that point, everything changed. Felt like it was about to be 40-0, and instead it's a 1-touchdown game. St. John's goes down there and gains a little bit of momentum, gets a defensive stop out of it, and that's when the defense started to settle down. Guys like Tyzay Johnson settled in, and was he a warrior?
Well, I think you also pointed it out on air that they changed their front to a 5-man front, and that's when Gonzaga couldn't go up the middle as well as they were in those first 2 series. And when you were able to take that away, now you can focus on the two other things they were doing well, was getting the ball outside to their running backs in the passing game, and then going down the field a little bit. And it just limited them a little bit, and that's where the defense really started to turn the tide.
It limited them because, we all know that last year they utilized multiple double teams at the point of attack, let Caleb kind of pick his spots and sort his way through. You got a 5-man line there. With a tight end, unless you're in double tight, you only have 1, maybe 2 opportunities to double team. Yeah. Now you got a guy like Tyzay Johnson and Baby Bus at the defensive tackle position, MJ Sherman. Now you're giving these guys one-on-ones. And listen, as elite as that Gonzaga offensive line is, I think it's second to none in the nation. That St. John's D-line is right there at the top of one of the best D-lines in the nation. That is such a huge – and listen, Gonzaga won the first couple rounds. St. John's came back late. And their defensive line and the switch over to 5-man line was a huge factor. All of a sudden, you got guys like Arturo Maddox, and they can't get guards on backers. And you got a guy like 52 running around making plays in the run game. And Greg Hudgens, the senior, showing up in his final St. John's Gonzaga regular season game, coming away with 2 sacks. We haven't seen Caleb sacked basically but once or twice all year long. 3 sacks in the fourth quarter.
Maybe.
After that offensive line had their fill with that St. John's D line, I think, like we always know in these WCAC games, the game is won and lost at the line of scrimmage. And Gonzaga had their stretch of domination, and St. John's defense came back and held their own there in the second half. But watching some of these guys get loose, that Colby played right in front of all of our faces. I mean, none of us saw that coming. We thought, can he get to that?
It was just a swing pass.
Is he going to get to that first down marker?
Hey, look, I thought it was just a swing pass. It was like, oh, man, I knew they wanted to go downfield on that. He takes a swing pass. I thought whoever was coming to the flat there, I'm blanking on his name.
Blake McLaughlin was right there, but I'm not saying right there.
He was going to get it.
He was an inside backer trying to make a play, and Colin O'Connor.
Like he had the angle, and then the speed was just like, whoa.
It was not a play missed by Colin. It was a play made by Colby.
It was an amazing play.
Without a doubt. No one could have anticipated. He could have gotten from point A to point B, and he squared his shoulders up, like you said live, Ken. He squared them up, and you didn't even see. It was like a non-noticeable. It was so smooth.
Yeah.
He was gone. Great block by Josh Gary to help him out, freeing him up downfield and letting that happen. So now you're talking about 2 50-yard plus touchdown plays. I mean, that type of explosiveness, the ability of St. John's to be able to score from all over the place keeps them in that game.
Yep.
Well, the sacks, the third down sacks and the fourth down sack.
I think Arturo got one. Greg had a couple. Hey, Baby Bus was in our boat. Tyzay got one. I'm giving out a lot of sacks here, so I'm not sure how it works with the half. But, a lot of times there was a bunch of guys in there at once.
Effort.
Well, they were bringing it.
Without a doubt.
Let's talk a little bit about we talked about it last week. It was my stat of the week, but I think it deserves more airtime, which is how St. John's got to this point. There people see the number 4 in their loss column, and they might think one thing, and they're thinking the wrong thing usually, because I think that 4 is not a normal 4. And there's a lot that went into what they did.
4. You're right. It's not a normal 4. Normally you'd say, oh, something happened. Maybe there was injuries. No, they were against 4 of the top teams in the country.
Yeah. And I think that...
And those losses, they actually learned from those losses. Those losses made them much better than any win they could have found on anywhere else.
And this was predetermined, T. There's a little bit more scientific, decision-making behind this schedule. When you have a O-line like Gonzaga's bringing back in the offseason, you're taking a look at that. There's a Landon Tangwell, one of the top guys in the country at his position. So they look out there and they say, you know what? IMG, Modern Day, Duncanville, they have a huge, monstrous O-lines. I mean, you went down to Texas, they were beasts. We saw IMG in the all-whites at St. John's, monstrosity. You got guys like, Mitchell Melton and Nick Jenkins and Keziah Izzard, Colin Mobley. You got to go and play against these guys that are top guys on defense in the nation. I mean, Duncanville is the number 1 inside linebacker in the country. We got to face Greg Penn. So they're looking for these matchups across the board. Hey, we're going to have to guard this DeMatha 4-way ridiculous receiving core. Well, how about we take care of Marvin Harrison up there at St. Joe's Prep? Let's get a taste and a feel for all this. And the one thing I know that made a ton of sense to me was to get through the WCAC this year, I think all of us would say you either have to beat or be beaten by Caleb Williams. All right, got a quarterback like that. Look at the quarterback St. John's played against. You got the number 5 pro style quarterback in the junior class, Kyle McCord, going to Ohio State. You got the number 1 pro style quarterback in the sophomore class. This is nationwide, by the way. Chad Masco from IMG, he's going to FSU, signed with them. You're looking at the number 3 athlete in the senior class, Jay Quindon Jackson at Duncanville. I mean, these are all leaders, and I think the best comp to Caleb Williams in the nation. If Caleb's going to be the number 1 dual threat in the junior class in the United States of America, why not schedule the number 1 dual threat in the senior class of the United States of America? And that Bryce Young was special. He threw for 400 yards. How about this? In a night game at Catholic University against the cadets. He throws the back shoulder fade like no one's business, like I've ever seen. Caleb and him are right there, right next to each other. And we're talking about maybe the 2 best out there in the nation. And St. John's got to take a peek at that.
And don't forget about Xavier Restrepo from Deerfield Beach.
I'm not. Hey, but you did remind me. Look, when you got Marshawn Lloyd and Savion Wilkerson, why not go against Jalen Knighton from Deerfield Beach? These are top 10 running backs. Lavoisier Carroll from IMG. So listen, if that prepares you for the WCAC, which was the goal, be prepared for the WCAC season. Well, 3 straight years St. John's has had the number 1 ranked schedule in the country. 3 straight years St. John's has gone undefeated in regular season play. I believe that if you don't think there's a correlation to that, then you weren't in the same locker room I was in.
St. John's going to start winning those games.
And they've become who they are because of the gauntlet.
But here's where it really gets tough, because we all know how hard it is to beat any team in this league twice. Yeah. That has proven historically to be a very, very difficult task. So they got a huge challenge ahead of them.
Well, they did it 2 years ago.
No more bigger than the other 3.
Last year. Right.
No more bigger than the other 3. But I think that they are definitely prepared for it, for the reasons that you just said.
And for 2 years ago, like I said, 2 years ago was the first time in St. John's history they beat DeMatha twice and Gonzaga twice in the same season. Couldn't get it done last year. So, but I do believe the WCAC season is what prepares you for the playoffs. I mean, you've got what you've earned in the season before that. You've come together as a team. I think St. John's came together as a team last Saturday night. I think Gonzaga took them to a place where they had to step it up to the next level or get whitewashed, and they made the choice to take it to the next level. And that's what WCAC opponents do to you. That's what they do to each other, and that's what we're going to get to see a ton of this Saturday.
And what were all 3 wins? A combined 9 points?
11.
11
4, 4, and 3. Good Council by 3, DeMatha and Gonzaga by 4. And yeah, I mean, listen, if you don't think that them coming from behind in 2 of those fourth quarters against Good Council with a sophomore quarterback who had never played a meaningful snap in this WCAC with 4 other starters out, to come from behind and get that W, and to hold off DeMatha with a defensive stand on the last play, and to come from behind in the fourth quarter 28-17 to Gonzaga, that does not get done if you are not hardened by the scenario that you went through. Sure. And I'm just saying, now it's about the WCAC schedule, getting you ready for the playoffs. I think we all know about that. But I think that if you have the number 1 schedule in the country 3 years in a row, and you go undefeated in conference play 3 years in a row, which is unheard of around here, I think there's a correlation there. I mean, I might be crazy.
You're making correlations.
And I know, and I've said it twice. I haven't said correlation in like 13 years. Look, you guys bring the best out of me. See, iron sharpens iron. You guys are bringing the best out of me right now in my vocabulary. I appreciate that.
Well, let's bring the best out of our buddy.
Oh yeah, let's do that
and talk about the first of 2 matchups in the playoffs.
The preview. The look ahead.
Let's see what he's got for us tonight.
Yeah, now everyone's 0-0. By the way.
Falcons like juvenile sails and Captain Andy's Rivertown.
Captain Andy's Riptown?
What's weeknight out there?
Hello. Is this?
Hello.
Are you safe? Are you in a safe spot?
I didn't catch that one.
You calling out for help?
Is this a SOS?
Is that Morse code? Is he talking in Morse code? Dude,
boy, how you doing, man?
You're hosting a playoff game.
We're hosting. We're very excited. It's gonna be a big night.
What I mean, is that all you got?
All you got for us?
They don't call it the best
we have
celebrated business
we have
for
high
nothing,
expectations.
I mean,
over
if
here.
you look at their Twitter
I must have gotten cut off with my intro, but no, we're very excited. I mean, it's always a challenge, and it's a challenge with this league and with this playoff system is that you're playing another great team a second time, and to be able to beat a great team twice in the same season is extremely difficult. So the Falcons really have a big challenge, Friday night, and I know Gonzaga certainly has got revenge on their minds big time. And, they didn't get a second chance at us last year, but this year they're going to get it. So I expect it to be an explosive game. And we know that Caleb is going to do what he does with his arm and his feet. And I'm hopeful this time, Good Counsel's defense is going to be able to collapse on him because he disappeared into thin air a couple times the last game. I'm hoping there's
He
not a
does that.
repeat of that because we certainly had pressure on him in the backfield.
Well, you guys, Tim, have had some success versus Caleb over the years. I think Good Counsel is 3-1 versus Caleb Williams, which is crazy to me.
That's crazy.
They freshman year they Good Counsel lost in the regular season, and I mean won in the regular season, but got tripped up in the playoffs. And down at Gonzaga last year, crazy game. I think Savion had 250 yards rushing, and remember that game was nuts, back and forth, scoring from all over the place, and Good Counsel came out on top and did it again in 5 overtimes, man. I mean, you guys are so evenly matched, but you guys have had the upper hand. And hosting, does that give you guys a bit of an advantage in your mind?
I don't know about an advantage. I mean, everybody likes playing at home, and I'm certainly glad to not be traveling down to D.C. on Friday night to play that game and or Saturday. So, we're certainly happy and excited to be at home, but we're playing a great team that knows how to win, and they know how to win in big games. And that always is going to present a problem. But, the strength of the team, the Council's team, has always been in their defense and their linebacking core across the board. And I know we never talked about the McNamara game, and that was a tough one. But 4 of their linebackers had interceptions in that game. Mitchell Melton, Jason Moncure, Harold Miles, and Caleb Dennis all had interceptions in that game. And I'm expecting there to be a lot of turnovers in this game Friday night. And I think Good Counsel is going to capitalize on that. But they have to convert on 3rd down and 4th down, and they have to finish drives with points. So that's really the keys to their success. I think the defense is going to do its job. Caleb is going to make his plays, but the defense is certainly going to make a lot of their plays. And Good Counsel's offense is really the X factor here, and they must finish drive with points.
I think Harold Miles might be one of the top leaders in the WCAC in receptions. Every time Tim's on, he's talking about a pick made by Harold Miles. I mean, is he just wide open, Tim? What's the deal?
He just has a nose for the football. He's just one of those guys that just is always kind of around the ball.
Sounds like it, man.
And, he's made a lot of big plays for them. But, when you have guys like Chris Jenkins, number 18, and Mitchell Melton, these 2 big guys standing on the edge, I don't think there's a high school team in the country that has 2 guys that look like this on their defense. And
not many.
Quoted from one of the conference coaches, Good Counsel has some scary looking guys on their team, especially on their D. I don't know if they say the same thing about Gonzaga. I know their offensive line is enormous.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily, a scary looking team. But on paper, who gives a crap? It's guys that make plays on the field.
I think they're pretty scary.
I was going to say
they look scary Saturday night.
Rodney Falk and Henry Iloanya.
Yes.
And Josh Williams.
And Leggins. Those 4 brought it on Saturday.
But
night,
I know
without a
overall, listen, the speed of those 2 guys is ferocious. I mean, look, Keziah Izzard and Colin Mobley at DeMatha, those guys are I think they're perfect guys for a 3-4 scenario in college. They can play that defensive end, D-tackle hybrid spot.
I think they're more D-tackle-ish, but in high school they're ridiculous.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, without a doubt.
But I agree.
I want to drop one more name from Good Counsel's defense, number 16, Ronell McCorn. He's a junior outside linebacker, and he's made some huge plays for them. And he had a fumble return to start the second half last week against McNamara. He's been a great player for Good Counsel all year, and I expect him to be making big plays on Friday night too.
One thing I thought you said was interesting. Now, I agree with you. The defense is going to do what they do against Gonzaga. Caleb probably will get his plays. But I don't know if there's going to – that's a bold prediction for there to be a lot of turnovers. We just really haven't seen many turnovers at all from these teams in the regular season. There have not been any real big game-changing, turnovers, be it fumble or interception or anything like that.
The closest thing we had was Gonzaga when Jalen McMurray let that ball bounce in front of him.
But if it happens, it's going to be the law of averages. Odds are – there's going to be fumbles. There's going to be interceptions. There's going to be turnovers in football. We haven't seen many in the regular season. The only way Tim is right is because those odds are. It's a bold prediction that you should take.
I'm going to hold to that for Friday because Good Counsel is a defense that creates turnovers, and I think that's where what I'm talking about.
All right, so let's talk. We got to let you make a prediction on this one, Tim.
So I've got.
What do you got?
Purple Eagles 30, Good Counsel Falcons 35, and they're going to have at least 2 defensive special teams touchdowns Friday night. Good Counsel on top.
Just so everyone knows, this is Tim from Good Counsel.
Tim from Good Counsel.
Tim
Picking
from
Good
Good Counsel.
To beat Gonzaga 33-30.
35, 30.
35-30.
I thought I was guessing
Oh,
you
you
would
were
say
saying
33.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, listen, man. Are you going to make it out to the game?
I am, and I'm super excited to be out there. Hopefully, it'll be a decent night. And the Friday and Saturday football weather we've had this season has really been the best in recent memory, certainly for a long time. But I'm going to throw out one more score. I've got St. John's 42. I've got DeMatha 28. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think just St. John's has really found something in the last couple of games, and I think they're going to show it this weekend. And it's going to be all St. John's. DeMatha was a couple late with Marshawn, doing his thing. But
Tim doesn't show his face here, so he's just.
We have to bear the brunt of his
he
prognostications.
doesn't care about upsetting anybody else.
Yeah, are you really upsetting the apple cart if you're not visible?
Yes.
Yeah, I know this. Caleb Williams will not be rushing 32 times like he did in the last game.
No.
That's not happening, and they're definitely more well-rounded at this point, and they've gotten better. As has Good Counsel.
Well, guys
that's going
like
to be a dogfight.
Kariski on the outside, coming up with some big plays and expanding their ability of what they could do on offense. It's going to be fun,
Aaron
man.
Turner, definitely. Yeah, Tim, thank you very much.
Enjoy yourself, buddy.
all right, gentlemen, talk to you soon. Good luck, everybody. You have to believe in Falcon magic.
Well, he does believe in Falcon magic. If I had to pick a score on that one, I think the team I just watched play on Saturday, I have a hard time seeing them.
They're real good, man.
Them losing games. I mean, and maybe it's just because I haven't seen enough Good Counsel.
Rather than doing scores, though, I do like the what if. What do they have to do if?
For Good Counsel or for Gonzaga?
For both teams, and I think we've all established that the strengths for both teams. It's offense for Gonzaga and it's defense for Good Counsel. So, what's really going to be the deciding factors in this game is Gonzaga's defense capitalizing on any mistakes or anything they can off of that Good Counsel offense. And for Good Counsel, it is finding a rhythm and not having those negative plays or those penalties or whatever it may be that kind of knocks you off schedule and continue to put yourself in more manageable situations throughout the game.
Yep.
That's going to be the way that this game flows. Which one of those other units is really going to be able to capitalize on their opportunities?
Well, I'd like to say I don't have a clue because that first game, we all have to remember, was 7-7 after regulation.
Yeah, it was
and
amazing.
No other game this year between playoff teams was anything like it. Then it was 35-28 in overtime, making it a 42-35 game. I will say this. I have a hard time believing that the team I saw last Saturday night is going to lose. And but listen, it's only because Good Counsel was on the bye. And, it's what have you done for me lately, I guess. But, man, when you get Caleb going and that offensive line, they look gigantic out there Saturday night. They look gigantic and athletic. I do believe that, Good Counsel last year had the Beef Brothers. I think Gonzaga has, right now, one of the best offensive lines in the country, if not the very best. And I think that's their key, obviously. When you're protecting a guy like number 18, it's nice to have those 5 up there.
And I can remember July, August time seeing Caleb tweeting out all the time about best line in the country right here. He's got pictures of them. They were doing their workouts.
Yep.
It's very prominent then, and now looking back and seeing it now, it's been pretty cool to see it all come to fruition for them.
Well, we haven't talked a lot about DeMatha because they 26-14 winners over McNamara last week, but they have a game coming up against St. John's on Saturday.
Don't fight.
And
it's just
we've talked a lot about St. John's, Gonzaga. We talk a little bit about DeMatha. I want to get us out talking about this game we're going to cover on Saturday.
So lucky.
DeMatha wins on Saturday if a specific thing, a player shows up.
Well, I mean, I was going to say they need to find balance on offense. They need to find balance on offense because they need to be able to. I think St. John's is good enough defensively that if DeMatha is struggling in one of those two phases of their offense, and we all know how good their running game is, if they can find that balance, it can keep that St. John's defense from teeing off on them on a 3rd and long situation if they can't put themselves in those manageable third down situations. So I think it's really going to be incumbent on the offense to find that balance throughout the day and keep that rhythm. Again, negative plays, putting
Yeah.
yourself in bad positions is going to really, really hurt you to overcome any kind of challenge and adversity they're going to have with this St. John's team.
What do you got?
Well,
DeMatha wins if what? I was going to ask Maddie.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
DeMatha
Go
wins
ahead,
if.
my bad.
Taking it all in. Go ahead, man.
Oh, you're taking it all in. All right. DeMatha wins if.
DeMatha wins if they can get. They got to get Marshawn Lloyd going. And he had 17 carries last game. He had a 55-yard carry in the fourth quarter. If you take that off the books, he had 16 rushes for 24 yards. He was stopped 10 times for a 0 net gain or a negative gain. They've got to get him going because that allows them to be, a little more 50-50 in the whole situation. Because here's the deal. When you had Malachi in there, he ran 16 plays. They rushed 14 of those 16 times.
Yep.
He threw twice. You have the young freshman come in there. That's 31 plays. He threw 20 of those. So it's kind of a tell out there. So if you can get Marshawn going and get the passing game going, keep an eye on Josh Dodd at the slot. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna bang this drum on that side of it. The slot receivers for DeMatha. The slot receivers in DeMatha. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah.
But on the St. John side,
Well, hold on.
both sides. Sorry. I have a both side thing.
Yeah,
So you
but-
let me know when I can say that.
For my specific thing, if DeMatha has 3 touchdown passes, if they have 3 passing touchdowns, I think that's a good sign
I was
for
going to say the
DeMatha.
quarterback play.
So if that stat box gets filled, if there's 3 touchdown passes made by DeMatha, I think that's you're looking at a possible win for the Stags. You want to let's go St. John's wins if.
I'm going to hammer this point all game long, and it's something that just stuck out to me 2 weeks back.
Sticks did.
Third downs, DeMatha was 2 for 11 on third down conversions.
Wow.
Sol-J Maeva was magical in that game, and it showed in that stat. 7 for 10 times they converted to third down and kept the drive alive or allowed St. John's to score a touchdown. Or DeMatha has got to fix that third down situation.
Sure.
And stop Sol-J. He ran around like he did this past week. In the past 2 weeks, he's been running all over the field making plays. I mean, that scramble when he chucked at the baby bus for 23 yards.
Yeah.
You don't just run around
That was a great
45 yards and then stick it to a 280-pounder up the sidelines and let him chug down for 10 more. Yeah. Sol-J gives them the ability to make those plays, and as long as he's careful with the ball, that's what they got.
St. John's wins if.
So again, I think that the offense right now, the way that they're playing, is not going to be the problem. I think defensively, they need to load that box and force DeMatha to beat them in the air because they have a very, very good running game. If DeMatha can get on top, that's where they're most dangerous. But if St. John's defensively can load that box, force them to become a one-dimensional team, I think they can win this game.
My specific stat is St. John's wins if at the end of the day you look and Sol-J Maeva has, I was going to say 2 rushing touchdowns, but at least 1 rushing touchdown. If Sol-J Maeva hits you for a rushing touchdown and becomes a weapon like that, I think you're looking at possibly a very productive day
So
for
you're
St.
putting
John's
it at
offense.
1.5.
Yeah, like 1.5 would be like the over/under for Sol-J Maeva. Rushing touchdowns in a likely St. John's win.
There you go.
I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Like I said, we're so lucky to be there and get to do it. I'm so excited. This is a playoff time in the WCAC. You guys know how it is.
It's the best.
Special time of
Man,
year.
it takes you back. It takes me back.
Yeah.
It takes me back. I remember trying to play, teams twice. I remember, Carroll back in the day with the likes of Al Clark and Phil Savoy and Jamal Williams, and I could keep going on and on with all the names. We lost to them in the regular season finale. It was always a big rivalry game back in the 90s for us against DeMatha versus Carroll, and then having to play them in the championship game and just like limiting things and the way that you did it and the just the emotions and everything that goes into it. We're with you guys. We're along the way. We're just so, as Kevin said, we're so lucky to be there and to be bringing it to so many other people that aren't going to be able to be there that day. And
We'll be there.
Looking forward
It's a
to it,
1
man.
p.m. kickoff, I believe.
At 1 p.m.
We'll be live around 12:30 from Fernandez Stadium. I want to say thanks to everyone giving us a look on Tuesday nights. Subscribe, hit this logo behind me. It's a free subscription, and you'll get a notification when we do go live for these kickoffs this week.
we need a goal. We need a goal of 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah, 2,000 subscribers.
Before football season's over.
We are getting there. We're about 1.7 right now, K.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That's
Spread the
1.7
word.
K. He's Matt Seal.
Spread the word, guys. Follow us on social media, too. Instagram, First
All
Amendment
that
Sports.
stuff.
We're all over the place.
You never know where you're going to
We're
find
putting
us.
out content for you.
He's Kevin Ricca.
Yeah, and I want to thank all 13,400 or so of you that checked us out on Saturday night.
Yep.
That was awesome. It is an absolute privilege for us to be there. And yes, we enjoy doing it together. And yes, we have fun. But, we're there because of these young guys on the field. And that's it.
Yep.
So till next week in the playoffs, be a good sport.
He's Tim Strachan.
And to take a quote from Kevin Ricca that is actually being said over and over out on social media, nobody does it like the WCAC.
Nobody does it
They
like the
don't.
WCAC.
And that's why we do this, and that's what we're looking forward to. Till then, stay grounded, be rounded. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there on Saturday.
I'm Ken Marangolo, and this was the WCAC Spectacular.
It was quiet without music.
Appreciate it.
was.
Well, we keep getting
nice.
dinged
It's very
for copyright,
serious.
so thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. Good lively discussion tonight.
Good, lively discussion.
It was. We got a lot
was
more. We got more
lively.
guys.